permit me to recognize everyone on the call. I might not be able to mention all our names, but you're all dear to us, and we are grateful that you've made time to be at this webinar. Particularly, again, our international audience. These are people that have joined from all parts of Africa, and not just Africa. We also have people from Germany on the call. So thank you so much for joining us. We are absolutely grateful so much, and all our people from Nuan and outside Nuan that are here on the call. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presence.
We show that we can actually transform the world and make this world a safer place, and more importantly, enjoy our food, because everything organic is tastier, is healthier, and nobody has complained about organic. So, and most importantly, our health, because I have spoken in several fora and say that there is new method of dying, that people will just go to sleep and don't wake up again. People will die on the traffic and the rest. And all this as a result of our management of our environment and our feeding habits. So let us try to create this environment so that we know that we can live longer, enjoy life, and be helpful to one another. This webinar is organized on behalf of NUAN by KCA. NUAN is the umbrella organization for organic agriculture in Nigeria, and NUAN is strong, virile, and pushing and trying to make sure that everything is well for organic agriculture in Nigeria. NUAN is a registered member of IFOAM, registered member of AfroNet, registered member of WAFRONET, and is playing a significant role in those bodies. Now, KCA is a project sponsored by GIZ through BNZ, sponsored by BNZ through GIZ, and KCA is strongly working on knowledge management, because we have come to know that organic agriculture is knowledge-based. Before you can succeed in organic agriculture, you must ferociously, I think I want to use that word, you must ferociously look for knowledge. The more you look for knowledge, the more you get them, the more you use them, the more successful you be. And most importantly, because the environment, the world, and our country have made organic agriculture endangered group of people. Endangered, I use that word in quote, endangered, because they support all others and are not even interested in what we are doing. Meanwhile, we are the ones that is trying to safeguard the environment, safeguard the health of the citizenry, and make the environment ready for production of food tomorrow and the next generation. So yet we are endangered. So because we are endangered, we must come together, encourage ourselves, form a great force, and move on. So with this short speech, I welcome you all, and I look forward to a stronger participation. We continue to look for strong people that will give us what we need to make this webinar more interesting. Honestly, if you think that you have something to share with us, even if we are unable to identify and get across to you, please get in contact to us. We'll make opportunity available for you to share those experiences. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. So just before I bring up our guest for today, I'm sure that if you've not met her before, you are just get ready for an interesting experience. Now, organic agriculture, as we all know, it is more than a method. It's a philosophy that encompasses sustainability, environmental stewardship, and a commitment to the well-being of our planet. Our guest brings a wealth of practical experience and knowledge, and with so much to learn. Our guest is not only a seasoned organic agriculture practitioner, but also a passionate, sustainable agriculture advocate. She's a public speaker, business coach, and consultant. A commitment to sustainable practices in organic agriculture has not only transformed Okwe farms into a beacon of eco-friendly farming, but has also made Barrister Olusola Sowemimo. So I used to mistake her for Barrister Sowemimo, but I know better now that it's Barrister Olusola Sowemimo, a sought after voice in the realm of sustainable agriculture. One of the things I find most exciting about today's session is the fact that she also has a book in the works, and we are going to be the first set of people to enjoy or be a part of the virtual launch, or so to say, of the book. So we get to have first-hand experience of some of the things in the book. And the good thing is, some people just talk and there's no results. This person has results. I'll also put our Instagram link in the chat box so you can follow her on Instagram. She has a very active community of over 20,000 people that are following her. In fact, they are food soldiers. If you say hair like this, they are ready to fight you. Like, don't even do anyhow around them. So, but we are so excited that she's a part of NUAN, and she's also one of our strong stakeholders in KCUA. So we welcome you, Barrister Olusola Sowemimo. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. And good morning or greetings, everyone, depending on what part of the world you're joining us. As she said, I'm Olusola Sowemimo, and it's my pleasure to share from my personal experience with you today. I started organic farming. This year will be 10 years. So we're going to be 10 years later on this year. And it's been a very colorful journey. So when I'm asked what topic, drives me the most, is the ability to share some of my experiences with others. Because when I was starting, I did not have much to fall back on. And though I was promised that it would fail, thank goodness it has not failed. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of my strategies for success in organic farming so that you do not make the mistakes that I made before. So let's roll. Those tomatoes are one of the most successful tomatoes we've ever done. So it's always one of my favorite photos to share. Please, let's go on. Thank you. So one thing that I would like each and every one of us to bear in mind is our why. It's so fundamental because organic agriculture will test you. It will test your confidence. It will test your finances. It will test everything. But you've got to believe in yourself. And that's why I tell people, what is your why? Why are you going into organic agriculture? My why is really strong because it centers around my mom, who had cancer and at the age of 72 passed away. This was a woman who, for probably the first 50 years of her life, grew her own food at home. And that was where I got to learn how to grow food at home. But when she lost her husband, she just lost all of that zeal to grow food. And it was like anything she ate was fine. But one thing I discovered was that my mom ate beans every day. At that time, nobody knew that beans had so much chemicals in the planting of it. It was after she passed away that we even realized that if you soaked it before cooking, then it could be a little bit better for you. So you must have your why. I attended a conference in California. It's called Cancer Control. And there were over 1,000 of us. 90% of the people at that conference were people who had survived cancer and were managing it with what? I asked. They said food. And I just got a recorder and started recording all of them. I came with the zeal that once I get to Nigeria, I'm going to start an organic farm. I thought it was a walk in the park. After all, I had helped my mom at the back of the house. So how much bigger a deal could it be? Well, guess what? Everybody kept telling me, no, you're going to waste money. Yes, I lost money. You're going to do this. Everybody had nothing good to say about the decision to go into organic agriculture. And for me, it's when you tell me something is not possible that I then decide. I don't know. Some people say maybe it has to do with the fact that I'm a Taurian. I don't take no for an answer. I must achieve it. And I told myself, if I could not do organic agriculture, hey, I would not do agriculture at all. Because if I would not drink a bottle of chemical, why would I spray it on the food that people will eat? And so this photo here is one of the rare, if I don't have any personal photos on this slide, but this particular one I shared. With me in that photo is Professor Odeyemi. I found him in the newspaper talking about organic agriculture. I'm like, whoa, the same thing that seemed to have been so sacred that I didn't find anything. He didn't share his phone number because it was a newspaper interview. So I went on Google. I'm talking of 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, actually. I went on Google, found his name, and then found a phone number. I called him immediately, and he was very dodgy, like, who is this out of the blues? What do you want? And then I explained to him, and he said, well, young lady, I'm traveling day after tomorrow, and I don't think you can get to where I am tomorrow. I said, where are you, sir? He mentioned one place in, I think, Osun State or something of Nigeria. And I said, sir, whatever it will take me, I'm going to get to see you tomorrow. And I went there, met him. This man has his farm, I think it's a kind of place where people should visit just to have a feel. This man had trees of over 100 years. In fact, he's written a book on the trees on his farm. I was so taken in. And he told me one thing. He said, don't worry. If you believe that you will succeed in this organic farming, you will succeed. Just hold on to that. And that was it for me. So my question to you today is, what is your why? If you're just going into, because my passion is more for beginners, because I know what I went through as a beginner. So if you're a beginner, please ask yourself, what is your why? Because that why is the one thing that is going to sustain you. Is one when the trials come, it will sustain you. You know, when you have issues, it is that thing that will keep you going. So please write it in your own book or your phone or whatever. Answer the question to yourself. What is my why? So this particular event, I was a speaker for the former vice president's wife, Mrs. Oshibajo, and in walked Professor Odeyemi. I was like, what are you doing here? Are you a speaker? He said, no, I have come to listen to my mentee. I did not, he said, I'm so proud that I can be in the audience and listen to you. Because this man, I would call him, he said, call me anytime. So sometimes at 2 a.m. we're talking. And that's why I shared that photograph. So once again, please ask yourself, what is your why? And who is in your corner to guide you and lead you? That is why I'm doing this presentation, so that you can take things away from it that would guide you on. Let's go on, please. Now, one thing that I also want you to do before we go far is to conduct a SWOT analysis of wherever you are right now, whether you're just starting, whether you have started and you're kind of confused, or you just feel, do I know what I'm really doing? Please conduct this SWOT analysis. It is something that we do on Okwe Farms from time to time because things change. I remember, last year when we were battling with workers. Of course, the minute you have issues with workers, you're going to have issues with production, and that means your finances are also quite low. So this SWOT analysis is one of the things that when we do it, we find openings here and there that would still sustain the business in a way. But I'll share some of that later. So ask yourself, what's your strength? I met a lady once who told me that she owns over 500 acres of land. I'm like, whoa, what happened? She said, her great-grandfather, her grandfather, her father, all of them left their land, their farmlands to her. And guess what? She's an only child of her dad. Each one of them was an only child. So that is a strength. She says you need to drive 8 kilometers. And all of that 8 kilometers down that way belongs to her. So that could be the strength. Your strength could be that you read agriculture and you were very good, you know. Please do your own analysis for yourself. And your weaknesses, when you do your weaknesses, be realistic. You just have to be, you have to, kind of bear it all to be able to move on. What are your weaknesses? What area of your initiative needs help, how are you going to get that help? You know, because I know a lady who, for instance, we were talking and she said, oh, that her land has a lot of stones. Well, there's a portion of her land that has quite a number of stones and things like that. And I just suggested casually, I said, well, since the land is not subjected to any chemicals and all, why don't you put hives there to get honey? You know, so you will find out that those weaknesses that you are going to be bold enough to elicit will also give you a way out. But it is only when you're very frank with yourself enough to bring them up that you will then be able to even find solutions to those weaknesses. And then the opportunities. Many times we are not even observant enough to realize that these are opportunities that are falling our way. There's a lady I met some time ago. She produces fruit juices, and we were just talking. She, of course, she would like to have her fruits from organic farmers if they can produce for her. And when we were talking, she said something that was quite interesting. She said, you know what? I really didn't think I'll ever go into producing fresh juices. And I said, why? She said, because I just used to think, oh, couldn't everybody just cut a fruit, juice it at home and drink? She didn't think it could be a business model. But guess what? The few bottles that people ordered from her, every time she makes some and supplies, she gets orders like, oh, send us 200 bottles, send us 500 bottles. She said she's even gotten an order for about 2,000 bottles before. Then she realized, wait a minute, these opportunities, I need to grab them and start a business. And of course, lastly, the threats. We all live in societies where government policies will come up. There'll be threats. COVID came and nobody anticipated that a time will come when all of us will have to stay home. I remember a particular business, they had to trash about 20 tons of Irish potatoes. I'm telling you, I wept when I saw that video because I just cannot fathom. This was a business that was supplying virtually, I think they said about 80% of hotels around their states and even the neighboring states. So please make it a habit that you conduct this SWOT analysis. You can even make it quarterly. And I always tell people, even when the business is thriving and things are going well, please still conduct a SWOT analysis. Because every good thing is good. But guess what? If any bad thing comes in, then it can completely destabilize the business or even wreck it completely. So please conduct a SWOT analysis from time to time. Set it yourself. Maybe it's a quarterly thing. Maybe it's a biannual, whatever. Thank you. So another question I would ask is not all of us, please God, it's not all of us who would want to farm. You know, it's not for everyone. So you need to decide where best do you want to play. Do you want to be into consultancy? I don't joke with consultants, especially when they're experienced and they've really put in a lot of effort into what they do. And I'm glad to say that in Nigeria, Nuan, we have quite a few of them, and they are very, very intense about their consultancy practices. The only thing I ask people is that do not think that it has to come free because this is their own job. This is where they earn their income. So you may then say, for this, I'm able to do that. Just work it out. And if you yourself would like to be a consultant, then ask yourself, what do you need to be a very good consultant? You can parley with a consultant who is already practicing. You can intern with them. You can learn from them and all of that. Then aggregation. Do you want to put, I mean, as most farmers, if today somebody were to tell me, oh, if you give me 100 kg of kale every week, I would pick it up. Hey, I will put all my effort into it. because I know that that is sure and ready income for the business. So aggregation is a big deal. We need more people to play in that space. I know we have one of our notable members who is already there, and I know that many more are coming in. So it might be an area where you find it easy to be. And of course, production, where I am. Now, production is not for everyone. I'll tell you a little story. One of my very good friends decided that she was coming to visit Okwe Farms when I started. I think we were just maybe about 3 or 4 months old. And she came all dressed up, looking very, ready to explore a farm shoes. I'm telling you, she looked really good. And I said, so how are we going to go about it? She said, oh, today, just imagine I'm not here. I'm going to be following you around the farm. I said, okay, that's fine. So let's go. Then after a while, she just said, where are we going? And then I pointed and she said, I'm not going to follow you there. It's too far away. I can't walk. Please let your driver come and take me from here. Could that person be in production? If she has to be in production, she probably will have to own a quad or something, because you have to be agile. I walk every morning. I exercise and walk every morning, because if you cannot walk, WALK, and look around the whole farm, you are in trouble. People will hide the things they don't want you to see. They're going to put it at those areas where you don't visit. So you have to be agile. And that's why I keep saying production is not for everybody. You have to be ready. Am I ready for this? Am I agile enough? Am I in a situation where I can think on the spot to take actions as to what I'm going to do? And of course, there's journalism. I continue to receive newsletters from some of our members who are doing excellently well. Even if I'm not ready to read those newsletters or write-ups immediately, I save it and find time to read. So it's journalism for organic agriculture. I think is like our spokesperson, trying to tell the whole world what we're up to, because it helps, it educates people. That might just be your turf. That might be that area where you find yourself. So please get ahead with it. And then processing. Luckily, I'll tell you that I have also gone into processing, because we found out that post-harvest loss is real. There was a time when we would do so much, we would produce so much, and at that time we were struggling with the market. And of course, what happens? You either give it out or something. But as once knowledge developed, I started learning that, oh, well, processing would be a good one. And I was happy that I was able to take a course on this, and it's been a game changer. Nothing, absolutely nothing goes to waste on the farm. If anything, even if a produce doesn't make it enough, maybe it's not good enough to sell, we just convert it to farm waste, and is there working for us too. Logistics is still an area where we have a very wide gap. I have a truck. It's an old truck, but it does the work. And I remember there was a particular, we harvest on Thursdays, and on Wednesday, the truck was beginning to look like this truck might not make it to the farm. And I just casually asked around if I wanted to rent a truck to get my harvest from the farm to Lagos, how much would it cost? I'm telling you, when I got the prices, I was like, whoa, many more people should be in this part of the business. It's not cheap. And of course, now in a country like Nigeria, the fuel price has gone so high that I'm sure those prices that I got long ago would probably even have gone triple. So there might be a way whereby a logistic company will say, okay, we're going to be at Okwe Farms at 2 p.m. We're going to be at so place at 4 p.m. And you pick from so many of us so that the pricing is also not as impactful on our businesses. And then there's technology. That is a big deal right now. Everybody's talking of green economy and all of that. So you can play with so much. I know one of our young men here, he's very much into technology, even some of the older ones too. So there are many areas where we can play. I've just highlighted these 7. There are many more. I just don't want to take all of our time doing this. This is a session that I I normally run for like 2 days. So I'm trying to put everything into the time allotted to it. Now, let me jump right into another area that I'm passionate about. We need to make a clear distinction. You know, I would first of all address those of us who are into production. One of my organic practitioner brothers here said something, I think just a few days ago. That would be Olumide David. We were just talking generally about us farmers, our production, what are we expecting, and all of that. And he made a statement that just captured it all for me. He said, when farmers are making sales, they're not making profit. So if you are in production, it should be the business of production. Many of us talk about agribusiness, where we're talking about harvesting, about processing and all. Even production should be a business. How many kg do you need to produce to make the kind of profit that will sustain the business? You know, so it's not a matter of sales. Oh, you have quite a number of things and people are just buying, money is coming in, but the money that is coming in, is it meeting your expenses? For instance, I remembered after about 2 years of being in the business, I sat down. Well, one thing I've always done is to record every single sale, no matter what. Just record it, have it in your records. I sat down and looked at our records and realized that our expenses was actually higher than our sales. So even though it looks like we were selling, we were not making money because, I mean, there's no point say, maybe I'm just using this as an example. There's no point saying in a month, you make ₦1 million and you're happy. The bank balance is reading ₦1 million something. But guess what? How much have you spent? Then you look at your expenses and realize that your expenses has been like 1.2 million. So there's nothing for the business, absolutely nothing. And so when you decide to make production also a business, then you can calculate. And that's why calculation helps. You need to know the size of the bed. You need to know how much you are able to harvest from that particular bed. I remember there was a game. Sometimes we play games on the farm just to encourage the workers. So we had planted sweet potato, and we said that whoever had the most yield on their plot will get some kind of incentive. Guess what? Let's imagine that the highest was probably 100 kg. Hold your breath. The least was like 10 kg. What happened? I mean, if we didn't do that exercise and we just lump all production together, we'll be wondering what happened. Because this is one place where we got so much, this is another place where we got nothing. And of course, by the time we realized, the worker had actually not done enough, even in laying the vines and all of that, he didn't do a good job. So we need to be more intentional about our production. So it's not about, oh, you're just having a lot to sell. The lot that you're having to sell, how are you arriving at it? What did you budget, so to say? What was your budget for that production? You know, how much of the kg, how many kgs would make you the kind of money that will cover all the inputs? I mean, recently we were all compiling a list of some of the inputs we need to buy. And you find out that some of these inputs are now going to things like 120,000 per ton. Of course, all of those must come out from what you are doing, you know. So also, I now distinguish and say the business to succeed. You know, you just have to succeed. It's not about, oh, I'm a farmer, I do this, I do that. And this division is key to me. It has worked because production should not be an emotional activity. I know I got this experience about, about 10 years ago when the consultant who I brought in to come and check our activities, because I was just confused. What exactly is happening here? And he said, ma'am, let me give you my direct opinion. What you're doing right now is rather emotional. You need to be in business. So let's check ourselves. Are we in business or are we just running some emotional activity? Please, let's go on. So I call these must-haves for organic production. And I honestly am not surprised when the president of NOAN said, he mentioned knowledge. I'm telling you, you cannot skimp on knowledge if you have to be in organic production. You can't skimp on knowledge. In fact, if possible, set aside a budget. Because I always tell people, you can't keep looking for free. Oh, so is talking for free somewhere. How about the very deep knowledge that you need that is not in that free, you know? And of course, the knowledge has to be continuous. You have to keep working at it. And this would entail, even if it is having a subgroup of people of like minds, and you share your experience. Something's gone wrong, you can ask them. I have my own groups where we're free with each other, we'll ask questions. This one will say, oh, maybe this, maybe that. Everybody, if you're in primary production, you need to be somewhere. And you need to be ready to pay for some of this knowledge so that when you have it, you're very happy with yourself. I took 2 trainings last year. One of them is on food processing. And I tell you, it is not the art of food processing. It is the business of food processing. When I first saw the price, I was like, no way, I can't afford this. Then I spoke with the lady, and the lady said I could pay in installments. Immediately, I shared this with some of the people in my circle. This is a training I'm going for. If you're interested, I urge you to go for it. I'm telling you, there were about 9 modules. Of the 9 modules, 5 were completely strange to me. You must be realistic with yourself, what you know and what you don't know. It's very important. And of course, the right location for production. Production is something that is intentional. You cannot buy the land and then start doing the analysis that, oh, the land is not this or it's too acidic and all of that. You need to know. One of the things that meeting Noan helped me with is that I got to know the guidelines very quickly. And because of the guidelines, which said that I needed a buffer zone of, is it 30 meters or 40 now? So as I was buying my land, I already had that at the back of my mind. And that's why today, Okpe Farm on one side is the road that people pass through. And on another side is actually a road that we created. And we created it so that the land after the road still belongs to us. And of course, if you're into organic, you will know that you don't want the rainwater that is leaching from conventional farmlands to run into yours. That will be very, very bad for the business. You don't want somebody testing your produce and coming back and saying, but hey, you said this was organic, so how come it's showing something? I don't even know many of those. I don't know the names of many of those chemicals, so you pardon me. Now, your water source. When I was buying the land, you would not believe it. We saw this stream at the back of the place. I was so excited. Oh, they say when you're buying land, you should have a stream, because once you have a stream, you have access to water. And the gentleman, the agent who went to show me the land, made a statement and said, oh, as for this stream, once it rains, you will not believe it. You even know the demarcation between your farm and the stream. So you'll be very careful. Try and put things along the edge so that you will know where that water starts from. Guess what? I have never seen water reach even half of the depth of that place in 10 years. So if it used to happen before, it probably is climate change or something. So please be very, very intentional about having a good water source. We all know that you can't farm without water. And if possible, have more than one. So one of the things we did was to actually build a water reservoir. And it was a young man on Instagram that, told me this. Otherwise, I just kept buying drums and drums. And then he saw another 2 sets of drums I had just bought. And he said, ma'am, How many drums are you going to own? He said, this water tank, sorry, I meant, well, yes, water tank. He said, how many of them are you going to buy? Why don't you just build a reservoir? And that was it. We built that reservoir. It came at a huge cost, but at least now we can store water in it. We can store fertilizer in one, the chicken waste, manure, and all of that in another one of it. And please, your soil test is fundamental. It's very, very interesting because you may just be producing and you are not hitting the mark because your soil is not responding. In organic production, soil is fundamental. It is everything. It's why the likes of Rodell, the guy who founded Rodell Institute, said that, it's when the soil is happy, the production will be happy. And guess what? The people too will be happy and healthy. So your soil is very fundamental, very, very important. If you have to spend money on making sure that you keep increasing the organic matter, it's well worth it. It's very, very well worth it. We actually also created, we have a rabbit pen just so that we can keep using their waste and mixing it with the soil that we currently have. Another area that I did not pay attention to until I started is actually manpower. Where are you going to get workers? Getting workers is getting more and more difficult. And I'm telling you, as at a few days ago, workers are asking for double the money that they worked last year. So it's either you want to be in production or you want to shut down. But guess what? If you're going to pay double for their salary for 2024, it means that the budget we did last year, we've had to trash it. There's no way it will work. When we did that budget, we had made it on the basis of having like 10 workers. Now, if you do the same this year with the 10 workers, there's already a shortfall. So it's very, very important that you consider the manpower, you consider how much you pay, you consider how you will make your workers happy. They've got to be happy at what they do to give you their best. That is very, very important. Let's go on. Thank you. Another thing I always urge people is to stay current. Gone are the days when you say, oh, mine is just to produce. Nah, what are you producing and who are you producing for? You need to follow the food trends. What are people eating? Is there something you should be planting or you should be considering to plant? And of course, I always tell people, know your strength. So if, for instance, a particular crop is not your strength, then don't beat it. Don't beat it silly. Just move on to something that you're sure. Yesterday, I was on the farm and there's this basil. It's pop. Would I call it purple or burgundy in color? I think it's called the opal red. Now, I just bought it out of curiosity. But I was stunned yesterday when I saw maybe about 35 beds of it doing so well. I mean, that is fantastic. That means I have learned a lesson through that particular vegetable or herbs. So you need to follow food trends. It doesn't mean that you become a jack of all trades, but at least you know what people are looking for. So if people, for instance, are looking for a particular thing, you may have the complementary to that particular thing. Very, very important. And network, build your network. People always say, do you have to greet everybody? Do you have to smile at everybody? Honestly, I don't do it because I need anything from anyone. I just do it because I feel it's the good thing to do, So build your network. Build your network. It's very, very key. Internship is another thing. If you're just starting and you need to intern somewhere, please feel free to intern to learn. I remember shortly after we started, we actually had a particular, I've forgotten his name now, but he came from Denmark at the time. He had come under WOOF, that is Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. That was through Mr. Ben Olatilo. And I had worried so much. How would a Danish survive on a farm like ours? But guess what? He blended so well. And you cannot guess what his favorite food was. Honestly, if I have the time, I'll ask you to just guess. I said, somebody just put something on the chat and tell me what you think this guy's favorite food was when he was with us. Can somebody try? I want somebody to just try on the chat. Yes, an expatriate comes. Amala. Oh no. Well, I'm sure if we made amala for you, you probably would have eaten. Fufu. It was gari. Gari. And no, not even as eba. It was gari as in the one. And you know what he called it? Nigerian cereal. I'm telling you, when he's taking his Nigerian cereal, he prepares a place, and sometimes he goes to the village. They knew him in the village. They knew him in the village. They all loved him. The children loved him. So he will go to the village, get peanuts until I bought him. I then brought him a whole bottle to keep on the farm because I didn't want him to be going all that way just to go and buy some peanuts. I didn't know how they prepared it, you know. And he would put his, yes, Baila, he will put some of the nuts in the Nigerian cereal. And when he's taking it, I mean, you would think he's eating something really dramatic. He was so excited. He would say, I'm taking Nigerian cereal. We learned from him and he learns from us because he came as a sustainability person and we were an organic farm. So he will educate us on even some of the pests that we're eager to get rid of, you know. He would educate us as to why this particular one we shouldn't get rid of it, as to how we should be mindful. Then another thing he did, which I'll never forget, which I should try again, he actually built us an hotel for the different insects and all. He built an hotel for them. And he tried to put there things that would attract them so that they were less intense in finishing my vegetables on the farm because there was enough for them in their hotel to eat. I'm telling you, I had completely forgotten this. I just remembered it now. And of course, logistics. I find it's always very painful when farmers, yes, it's always very painful when farmers tell me things like, oh, I have 300 kg of sweet corn. Could you sell it for me? And I'm saying, was it grown organically? Because if it's not grown organically, I would not take it. Now, even imagine that it was grown with the organic processes in mind. But I then ask, where is your location? And you tell me something that is like maybe a 4-5 hour drive to me. I mean, you need to either have your own means of transportation or logistics or farm what you can sell where you are. There's no point farming something that you want to sell in Lagos without logistics or transportation, and then you're just so far out there. It's very, very important. I remembered when we first started Ope Farms, we had lots and lots of, we had many cassava stems on the land. And I had to ask myself, what am I going to do? I did set up this farm for cassava only, but cassava was quite a bulk. And luckily enough, they had not used chemicals. We tested it and we were fine with it. And I told myself, you know what? We're just starting. People don't even know us. So where am I going to carry Gary to? And I just went to the market nearby, realized that every 5 days, you could sell Gary there. So we made the arrangements. We got people to come and make the Gary for us right on the farm. And we took it to the market. When we got to the market, we then realized that the market has a mafia. And it's, well, I'm talking about Nigeria now. Almost every market in Nigeria has its leadership. And that leadership is all in all. So if you want to sell there, you've got to know them. And I was told that Gary was fixed for a particular price. And I asked them, I said, and this is why you must be able to speak. I mean, you just have to talk for yourself. I then asked, I said, I would like to meet the leaders personally. I want to speak with them one-on-one. So when I got to them, before I left the farm, I had done little bags to give them as tasters. So when I got to them, I told them that I was told that, oh, I could only sell, at that time they used to call it BAF, that I could only sell it for a certain amount of money. And I told them, I said, I'm sorry, my Gary costs more than that. They looked at me like, really? Is Gary not just Gary? I said, no, my Gary is different. And there were about 5 of them sitting down. No, there were 4 of them sitting down. They said one person was missing. So I gave each one of them the bag. And you know, the African way of tasting Gary, people just put their hand and, you know, put it in their mouth like that. And they go, oh, nice. Then I also addressed them and let them understand that this was planted without the use of any chemicals. And so it is safe to take. Guess what? They asked me, so how much would you like to sell your Gary for? And I gave them the price I wanted to sell. And they said, go right away. And guess what? Until we finish selling our Gary every 5 days, until we finish selling our Gary, nobody else sells their Gary. People were queuing up. In fact, they were the ones that gave our Gary the name, Gary Okpe, you know, the Gary of Okpe Farms. They were the ones that gave it the name. So you get to the market and people are asking, please, where do they sell Gary Okpe? You know, so this leads me right into the fact that you should be able to sell your business. No matter what you do, whether you're in the logistic, in the, you know, whatever aspect of the value chain you are, please be able to sell your business. I'm always a bit worried when people ask others, so what do you do? And you go, nah, you've lost so many seconds, you know, trying to think it out. This is something you need to practice if you have to practice it. And above all, I tell people integrated is best. This list goes on, but I'll just shorten it and say that make it integrated. So have your livestock, have your vegetables, have your fruits, have your cash crops, and that is what makes organic even more defining and more interesting. So let's go on. Thank you. Now, to succeed in the business of crop production, I have identified a few things which I have also gained through either attending some trainings or even reading books. You know, I have so many books because I have to make up for the fact that I didn't go to the university to read agriculture. And I'm happy and proud today that while I am not in the science of agriculture, at least I know enough to get by and be able to sustain the business. So when we're thinking, it could be a high yield crop. Ask yourself, and I always say that it's good to mix. So all of these things I'm actually talking about are things you can mix when you decide to set up your organic farm. So make sure you have something that is a high yield crop. You want it, you get it. It's always there on the farm for you. And then the days to maturity. Because the shorter the days to maturity, then the more turnaround you can have. Because if you do things like succession planning, where you're making sure that maybe every 2 weeks you're planting something so that you can harvest, then the days to maturity is important. Is it 28 days to maturity? Is it 45 days? Of course, all of those days cannot compete with things that will take 5 months, 9 months, and all of that. They are all good. But if you mix the duration, the harvesting time, if you mix the different crops, then it will help you, because there will be no point in time when the farm is empty. There will always be something that you can harvest to take to the market. Now, another thing is price per kg. While some crops are a bit pricey, some are quite cheap. You need to balance them so that you know that even though this one is pricier, I can then produce. I remember there was a time we were supplying some juice companies, and they would ask for, I think lettuce was one of those things that really tested our strength, because we were supplying, I don't want to mention their names because I don't have their permission to do that, but I remember that there was a particular one, we had to supply them twice a week, and my driver would even have to go to the farm on Sunday night or Sunday evening so that they have it from the farm, it goes straight to their kitchen, and Monday morning, they're already using it. Then the same thing, I think they also needed it on Wednesday. So those are things that you then ask yourself, because of the volume, we were also able to give them, you know, good prices. I would say good prices because the volume would help. You know, if for instance, somebody harvests 5 kg of something, that person might be looking at the maximum money to make. But if you're able to produce about 100 kg of it, definitely your pricing should be more reasonable than the person who is asking for price for 5 kg. And of course, you have different markets. Because even you, if you are supplying 100 kg, it doesn't mean that you would never even sell the price per kg for 100 kg to somebody who is buying just 1 kg, or somebody who just wants to eat it at home. So those are all the things that you need to consider. You would also want to consider the popularity. You might be so well known with a particular crop. Don't sit down and say, oh, it's popular within my list, but I'm not making money from it. Then increase the price. Because once people have gotten used to it, it's popular, they love it, they like it, then you can put the price that makes it worth your effort. I'm telling you, we had to sit with an accountant to work out some of the prices of some of our produce. And of course, this is 2024 where all prices have gone up. We're going to have to do a review. So it may be slow at first, but if you're able to sell your business, let people understand and appreciate what they are buying, then you will scale that bit of, the pricing and all of that. And then market. Which market are you going to sell at? Where do people know you well enough to be able to sell? Are your people on social media? Are your people in the market? Are they in supermarket? You need to really know where exactly you want to play. It's very, very important. I mean, it's extremely important for your business to survive. I remember when I first started, I still laugh at myself. I actually went to the local market. I didn't know who I was going to tell, you know. But a particular man started taking our lettuce, and he helped me in a way because his feedback was always, oh, please, when are you bringing that lettuce back to the market? And I'm thinking, really, why? And he will say, all the people that bought it, you know, pidgin English, all the people will buy them. They want them again. They want them again. Bring. Then I looked and I said, this is not my market. Because they know him and they're buying from him. But they don't know me as a farmer who has sweated to produce this. And it was an eye-opener for me. I immediately realized that the local market is not my market. I think it was myself and Yedne Pereira, we did even mile 12 and all of those. But you're like, come, this is not our market. How will people know that this is the level of quality that they have had? Yes, they buy it today, but where will they find it tomorrow? And that was why I decided, no, I was going to be more intentional about this. And I had asked for space at a shopping center, and I'll put my brolly, put my produce, and guess what? Mothers dropping their children from school started coming there to shop from me in the mornings. And then some of them started saying, must we come here? Can't you supply us at home? Oh, of course. Got my pen and paper, started writing there, all the details. And that was how we started supplying homes. Then, guess what? The turn of event was that the particular shopping center then had a little space, a little store that was vacant. And they said they wanted a store that will attract, that will have good, what do you call it? That will have many people come there. And then somebody said, but how about Okpe Farms? People still come here to ask for Okpe Farms. And that was how we were invited. And then we got that store. And that store, I'm telling you, is like a cubicle. But I think it's one of our strengths, really, because people are happy to come in there, buy what they need and all of that. So my lady has lost my slides. I'm waiting. I think she has a bit of a challenge. So we can't see our slide. Has she lost me? Please, if you can hear me, can somebody just say yes on the chat box? Because I can see the chat.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Thank you. I was scared because I'm actually, I've harassed the hotel where I'm staying to please make sure that I have constant supply of electricity. And then the timing. I think that was one thing that I took for granted at a time in our production. You need to be, it took me a while to understand that there are some natural timing for some of our products. Yes, you may be able to use drip irrigation and all of it, but there are those times when the, should I say, the environment is in sync with what you're growing. So it's very good to know. I remembered our first attempt at cowpea. We didn't realize that the harvest of the cowpea was going to fall into the early rains. Because it doesn't quite rain where we are, we don't really work on the rainfall pattern as such. We keep it, we monitor it, but most times we don't get rain. Guess what? Unprecedented rain fell, and all the cowpea absorbed all the water from the rains. And guess what? The cowpea became food for our livestock. So please, timing is very key. There are calendars out there that will show you. So endeavor to make sure that you plan it towards the right timing for the harvest of the right crop. So let's go on. Yes. So I said, model your business to scale and succeed. I'll tell you, it was, I don't know what I was talking about. And the man looked at me. He's an IT person. So you can imagine how he's thinking and how my emotional self is thinking. I mentioned to him something we were doing, and he said, how do you scale that? And I looked at him like, how do I scale that? How do I scale it? How? Now, it's so important that whatever you are doing, you must be able to scale. You can't keep playing small. You must scale. For instance, quite a few of us had a discussion recently, and we realized that the truth is that the fact that we're beginning to process gives us the room to say we can scale. I remembered going for a food exhibition that was, I think it was the one from Fidelity Bank. And at that particular event, a gentleman who is a buyer for a top supermarket came and said, oh, I love the packaging of your spices. They're so beautiful. Can you supply in very large quantity if we wanted to order? And I didn't comprehend the kind of quantity he was speaking about. So and maybe it's my legal background, I tend to like to ask questions so that I have better understanding. And I said, please make me understand, what kind of volume are we speaking? Are we talking about? Hold your breath. He said, if I wanted to order the spice from you, I will need about 6,000. 6,000 jars of spices? Of course, if that ever came our way, then we know that we have surely scaled. So whatever we're doing, let's always think about that. It could be even the fresh produce. I remember there was a gentleman who we used to supply, quite a number of us used to bring him lettuce every Monday without fail. Every Monday without fail. And I'm telling you, there was hardly any quantity you took to him that he would not buy. He never turned anybody back because his model was supplying the hotels. So he was not a farmer. He's not interested in farming. But with that, you can actually scale because this is a guy who is ready to take as many as you can produce. So one of the things I always ask people to do is to try to complete a business model canvas. I think it's somewhere here, so I'll show you what it looks like. And I know that some will be quite familiar with it. Please don't say this is agriculture. Every business needs to go through that business model canvas. There are people who have trained physically with me at Ope Farms. And when we go through this business model canvas, they're usually in shock. Like, whoa, many things that you don't even think of, this business model canvas would help you to bring it all into perspective. I remembered it should be about maybe 9 or 8 years ago, when I think it was Thistleberry, she had this training and we had to go through this business model canvas. It was an eye-opener for all of us. So please, if you're not using it yet, I urge you to try and download it today and try to work on it for your business. It's going to open your eyes to so much more that you probably didn't think was there. Please, record keeping. Data is key. I have data from probably even the first time we harvested anything on Ope Farms. It's just, I love writing. So don't think I was just up there. No, it's just because I love writing. So once they were harvested, and of course I learned very early that we also have to weigh. So that really helped me. Every production, we weigh everything that comes out of Ope Farms. And if anybody here went to India with us when we went for the World Organic Conference, on the streets in India, we had to weigh oranges that we bought to go and take in our rooms. Yes, oranges. So with that, how would a farmer not succeed? Because you know the quantity that you're producing, you know how much money, is going to make for you. And this is why I also say budget ahead. Many times we're just spending money. If somebody were to ask you today, how much fuel do you consume on your farm in a week? You should have that data. You should have that figure within reach. It's very important. Your workers, how much are they earning? How much are you spending on their, like we enroll all our workers at a clinic. How much are you spending on their health? You just need to do all of this. The inputs that you're using on the farm. Last year, neem oil was X price. This year, it is not. So the budget will keep you, I think, let me use the word, it will keep you sane. Because if you're not budgeting, you're just going to wonder where all the money is going. You remember the story I told you when our expenses was way higher than our production. It didn't make any sense. It meant that we needed to go back to the drawing board, So same thing with sales and marketing. This is a huge one. And I think the president mentioned it when, I think 2 sessions or 3 sessions ago, it was actually on social media marketing and all of that. Gone are the days when you say, oh, mine is just to produce. No, you must be able to sell whatever you're producing. And how do you sell? Is by telling your story. Let people out there know what you're doing. It really, really helps. I know it can be daunting. There are times when I don't even post on social media for quite a number of days because I can't find the time. I'm busy. But now, you can actually schedule. So you can sit down for one and do all the things you need to post in maybe like the next 5 days, and you schedule them. So this one goes out on Monday, this one goes out on Tuesday. Sales and marketing, very, very important. And now we're getting more avenues. They're now farmers market and all of that. One of the things we do is every week, we actually rate the income that we make. So the income from going to farmers market is this much. The income from selling at the shop is this much. The income from supplying homes is this much. I'm not doing it to probably drop any of them, but it just gives me the opportunity to know where our strength actually lie. And then you need to know the demographics. Who are the people shopping from you? For instance, I find out that on Instagram, for instance, about more than 50% of the people who follow Ope Farms are the younger ones. Most of my own age mates are still in the mode of see and feel. I like it when I see it before I buy it and I feel it. But most of these young ones don't even have the time. They just want to face, if it's work, let them face their work. And then let them believe that either Ope Farms or Etal or Peridot or whoever, they've supplied them at home. That's all they want to know. Oh, my supply is at home. Good. I'm fine with that. So it's very, very important, that you have that marketing strategy in place. Even this year, one of the things I learned from my very, very expensive training, which I haven't even finished, I think I finished paying her, was it last month, is a marketing plan. I'm telling you, this marketing plan I'm using, I'm telling you right now, I don't even want to tell you how much that training has cost me. But guess what? Imagine you're able to sit down and you go January, February, March, all of that. So don't worry, I'll be done. I'll be done. So also attend exhibitions and conferences is very, very important and is good for your business. You get to know more people, be very intentional, walk around, talk about what you do and all of that. Please go on. So that is just what the business model canvas looks like. So please download it. Just put in business model canvas in Google, and it will bring out different. But all the questions are the same, and some of them guide you as to the kind of answers you're going to put in them. Let's go on. Please, let's go on. Yes. So still talking about modeling your business to scale and succeed, bookkeeping and accounting is very important. And guess what? You don't need to go and employ your own accountant. No, I have an accountant who I'm amazed at the number of people who have recommended him to me. I just met him through one person. And since I met him through that one person, several others have recommended him. And guess what? He's also supplying us a bookkeeper. So I'm not going to have staff all over there that will make my expenses high. I'm not just going to be chewing, like little bits from other people and of course paying less. Human resource is best to outsource it. You don't really need to have one, for yourself. And then be grant ready. Well, at my age, I don't qualify for most grants, but if you're still young, please put your business in a way whereby you will be grant ready. One of the things is learning how to pitch. Don't say I'm only an ewedu farmer. No, be ready to talk about it. Do you know this ewedu, that's the jute that I just mentioned? There was a lady who saw the dried one on my DP, and she sent me a message. She said, oh, you should apply for grants for this. And I said, why do you say that? She then showed me a friend who is doing the same dried jute leaves, and this lady got a grant of $100,000. But hey, at my age, I don't qualify. But I'm just giving you that example to know the kind of things that can come your way. And then please conduct quarterly critical analysis. Yes, I've mentioned the SWOT analysis, but you also need to do the critical one where the things that you have done, how you've done them, what went wrong, how did it go, all of that. And please work with a coach or a consultant. I'm telling you, you can negotiate with them on how you can pay them. You can negotiate payment so that it's not too hard on you. Because what you're going to get at the end of the day is a more objective outlook. Many of us are passionate about what we do, so we keep deluding ourselves that we're getting it right. But hey, another set of eyes comes in and tells you, this, that, and then lastly, what other activities can generate income for your business? You must look at it. What else can you do? My organic brother, Olumide, shared something on what he can do. He does farm management. You can pay him to do heaps, you can pay him to do the beds, you can pay him to weed and all of that. What else can you yourself do for your business so that you have multiple streams of income for the same business? So you're processing tea, you're selling fresh and all of that. And then I urge you to embrace new technologies. Yes, even at my age, I'm telling you, embrace new technologies. If somebody were to ask you efficient use of water, renewable energy, all those things, sustainable transportation, circular economy, these are things that you just must educate yourself. You can sit in one place and say, oh, mine is production. Yes, but yeah, what is the impact? You need to know the impact of all those things on what you are doing right away. Let's move on. Now, do you know that the consumer spending in Nigeria, just look at it, 116,557,557.38 million. is what in just the second quarter of 2023, that is what we now have last year. Can you imagine what is going to be this year? And one thing that people will always spend money on is food. Everybody eats. Food doesn't have should I or should I not. People want to eat. So please move on. So I'm saying that success in organic agriculture is a result of continuous learning, hard work. Because while people can take the heavy machines to do so much, we tend to do it the softer way. And the softer way is more tedious, more expensive, and all of that. And of course, deep patience. I say deep patience and a very deep understanding of the ecosystem. You need to know the ecosystem where you're playing and the requirement that it needs of you. Yes. So thank you, everyone. I hope I've not rushed you too much, but like Hepzibah said, this is something I have been working on for over a year now. So it's actually going to go out as a more robust, it's going to come out as a more robust document, and it will be available on Seller. So if you signed in for this, if you registered and signed in for this, you will get a little discount for having been at this session. So feel free to follow me on Instagram, _Olusola Sowemimo. All I do on Instagram is just share so that you can learn, you can understand. I have people who call me and say, oh, do you know I tried this and it worked? I'm so happy. I also have the Seed to Fork, which is also on Instagram, where I teach people how to grow food at home. And LinkedIn, oh, LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Even though the mindset is different, but I have those who are very good with LinkedIn. I think when you talk of someone like Mr. Saeed Adams of Eweko, he's very good on LinkedIn. You can follow people like that just to see how they're writing and how they're thinking, so that you can also do a lot more for yourself. Unfortunately, Okwe Farm's website is currently down and somebody is working on it. So thank you everyone for having me. Thank you.
Wow, what do we say? Please, can we put in the chat box? Let's put in the chat box emojis, appreciation, as the no. Please, let's get enough reaction.
Endlessly.
This is like a master class.
Endlessly. It cannot be less than this.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Please put it in the chat box. Put it in the chat box. Thank you so much, ma. This was a master class. We can be in the know when the book comes out, and that's one book you don't want to take for granted. You don't want to take for granted. So make sure that you get ready. She was telling me that a number of times people don't want to pay for knowledge here. That has to stop. But I think our country coordinator wants to say something. So, sir, would you want to say something? In the meantime, please, let's put our questions in the chat box. And I would also want us to turn on our videos so that we can take screenshots of our pictures. So our country coordinator first. So, sir, please go ahead.
Now, madam, you just forced me to talk. I'm just a learner, just like every other person, but uh, I have never been so glued to webinar than this. But honestly, I didn't expect anything less. When I did my opening, I intentionally did not want to mention anything so that people will see it by themselves. I know how difficult it is to get her to even talk to her on the phone. But for her to come here, I think it's a great honor to Noan and to KSU18, and we have seen what it is like. If I say that I'm grateful, if I say thank you, I'm sure that it will not be enough. But we are not surprised. We know what you can do. That is why we called you. Thank you very much, man. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
and let us take the questions and answers. Please